Hi, I'm Fernando from UFMG, and today we continue talking about LLVM. This time we will see how to install it and how to use some of the tools that come within the LLVM distribution. About installing LLVM in your local system, there are several ways to do it. Here we will look into two approaches. First, we must decide if you want to install just the binary distribution or the source code. Installing the binary version of LLVM is much faster, for we do not have to download its source code and compile it locally. That will also take less space in your hard drive, if that's a constraint to you. However, if you install the source code and compile it, you can later change it, for instance. You can even distribute it as long as you abide by the license, which, by the way, is Apache version 2. That's a very permissive kind of license. So let's first take a look into how we can install the binary distribution. In OS X, for instance, you can use brew to install the most up-to-date distribution of LLVM that's available in the brew hub. That will install LLVM with all the dependencies. And in Linux, you can use apt-get, like in this page. And you can even install the accompanying tools, like Clang and several projects that are distributed with LLVM. The other way to have LLVM is to install it from source. In this case, we must download its source code and then compile it. This will be the option adopted in this course, and if you can, you should prefer it, as it gives you the entire source code of LLVM, which we can peruse at will. To install LLVM from source, we need to perform two steps: download it and then compile it. Usually, these are two simple steps, yet there will be a few commands that we need to type in. First, to download LLVM, we get it from the main LLVM Git repository with this command. Now, to compile it, we must first decide on a good location to install the binaries that we shall produce. But be aware, usually that takes a lot of space. In this case, I shall compile LLVM into a directory called build, which I put inside LLVM-project, which is the folder where it was downloaded. Today, LLVM uses CMake to manage the build process. CMake requires a special file called cmakelist.txt. This file is in the LLVM folder, which is one level down our build directory. So that's why we need to specify this path when we type the cmake command. And we can pass many more options to cmake. For instance, here I'm specifying that I want to build LLVM using a makefile. Another option would be to use Ninja or Xcode, for instance. We need to specify where we are building LLVM though. For instance, in my case, I build LLVM in this folder that's bold-facing the figure. Another option that I like is using shared libraries instead of having a static build. That usually saves quite a lot of space in the hard disk. And finally, you should enable Clang. This option will build Clang too. With Clang, you can, for instance, develop plugins for C, as we will see later in this course. Anyways, these are the options that I have used to set up the building system of LLVM in an x86 machine running Ubuntu. Probably that will be good to you. But if you prefer, you can use the Gold plugin. The main advantage of this plugin is that it enables link time optimizations. If you want to know more about the Gold linker and link time optimizations, please check the official documentation of the LLVM distribution. But notice that this is an optional step. Anyways, once you have created the right makefile with cmake, you can build LLVM by typing make. Notice that here I'm using this option to parallelize the building process in 4 processors. Compiling LLVM takes quite some time, and having multiple cores comes handy in this case. After you are done compiling LLVM, you will see that you now have access to many different tools. To see them, go to this folder called bin that has been produced in your build directory. Then just type ls. These are the tools that I have in my system at the time I've prepared this class. In the rest of this course, we shall take a look into some of these tools, but don't worry, we will not be using all of them, only a few. And that concludes our overview of the installation process. In the next class, we shall be talking about how to run some of these tools that we have just seen.